Hello lovers, welcome to the Butterfly Effect podcast hosted by myself, Lauren Amy. This is for those who are ready to take up space, who are living a soft life loudly and are ready to savor the sweetness in each moment. Here we're going to embrace transformation, the beauty of the in-between and the magic of becoming. So pull up a seat and listen in because life is delicious and it's about goddamn time we eat it up. Anxiety keeps on trying me, trying to silence me. That's my anxiety. Am I recording? Oh, I am. Oh. It's just me sat here singing to myself. Hello, stunners. Happy Wellness Wednesday. Welcome back to the Butterfly Effect podcast. How are we all doing? As you can tell by the episode title, we're talking a little bit about anxiety today, but I'm going to preface this by saying that I'm not exactly thrilled by this topic. I'm actually quite annoyed. This sounds very strange. I'm actually quite annoyed at the fact that I'm talking about anxiety because, I don't know, I just feel like it's kind of one of those topics that I just don't really want to talk about, but that's exactly why we need to talk about it, right? Because again, it's continuing to normalize it and remind ourselves it's okay, and actually we should talk about it. It shouldn't just be hidden in it away. It shouldn't just be pushed to one side and forgotten about. We actually do need to share our experiences so again everyone feels this collective mutual understanding. Okay, so if you follow Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram or on TikTok, you will have seen that I've been struggling a little bit this past week with my anxiety, and that is okay. And actually one of the things that I've found has really helped in talking about it online is that I have decided to give my anxiety a name. The symptom I mostly feel when struggling with my anxiety is this real heaviness, this real weightiness on my chest. You've probably heard the phrase, this elephant sat on your chest before, yeah? So I have decided to name that elephant, and he is called Gerald. And naming the elephant on my chest and referencing when I'm talking about anxiety, instead of calling it anxiety, calling it Gerald, has actually brought a slight lightness to it, brought a little bit of humour to it. It softens it. Yeah, and it gives it, there's probably some sort of therapy in this. There's probably something in this, there's some sort of nuance in it. That in naming something and giving something a name, it kind of takes the pressure off it, I guess. Yeah. But anyway, calling my anxiety elephant Gerald has been delightful. And it actually made things somewhat easier for me because obviously showing up online and then seeing people in person, I obviously, as I welcome people into class, I would obviously say, how's everyone doing? Are we all okay? And people, because they're nice, they want to ask me the same question. They want to say like, how are you? But obviously they know that I've been struggling with my anxiety this week. So instead of them going like, how are you doing? How's the anxiety? They go, how's Gerald? And you know what? That feels so much nicer. And I can either be like, Gerald's being a bit of a dick today, or I can be, Gerald's all right. Gerald's on a little vacation. I don't know where he's gone. And to be honest, I don't care. I don't know when he comes back. And also, I don't care. He can be on vacation for as long as he wishes to. And it just softens it a little bit because I have found it in the past where I've struggled with my anxiety. I will talk about it online, and then when it comes to in classes where I'm showing up in front of people, and people ask again, how's your anxiety? It almost feels like there's a little bit of pressure there to up my game, to show up more. Whereas if I talk about it as if it's Gerald, as if it's outside of myself, as if it's not me, it's this pesky little demon that occasionally visits, then again, it allows some distance, I guess. So that's been one win whilst I've been dealing with it this past week. And it's been very much in waves. I've had a few real bad days, and I suppose I'll talk about them a little bit more. I was doing a bit of research before sitting down to record this episode. I was like, are people actually going to be interested in an episode where I just simply sit and talk about my experience with anxiety? Or is that just is it not interesting at all? So I literally put in Spotify, like anxiety help, just to see what would come back. And the top result was a Mel Robbins podcast episode. Shocker, like Mel Robbins is super popular right now with the Let Them theory. I've been thinking about getting that book, but I feel like I understand enough of the concept, so maybe not, but perhaps it still be interesting to have, I don't know. But yeah, Mel Robbins, she has the Let Them Theory book and she has a podcast. And I listened to some of this episode whilst I was getting ready to record. And in this episode, it's her and her son talking about his experiences with anxiety. And I was like, actually, this is really interesting. I don't know whether it's interesting because it's a mother and son dynamic and they're having real open, frank conversations, which I suppose it's really nice to see and hear. That they've created that bond, that dynamic where they can be so honest. And I actually do want to say to my folks as well, they've definitely created an environment where, I can come to them when I am struggling with my anxiety. But I do kind of see that as that's one of my like last resorts. I'll see how well I get on. And then, yeah, my mum knows if I message her being like, are you awake? Or like, are you okay, mum? And she'll be like, what's up? She knows. Because I pride myself on being pretty much self-sufficient, right? I do everything for myself. Running my home, running my business, making sure I'm fed and watered. That is my priority. I'm very self-sufficient, somewhat hyper-independent. And, I've worked so hard to get to this place. So when Gerald visits and it kind of knocks me off that a little bit, it frustrates me and I'll do with it as best as I can, but it does get to a point where I'm like, nah, okay, I'm gonna need to give Mumsy a call, I think. And actually on that, I think if I reached out to my mum sooner, I would have probably got over, well, I don't know if I'm fully got over this wave yet, but it probably would have softened a lot quicker, I guess. Because the second you share that you're struggling with someone, and I had shared it with a few friends before I went to my mum, I guess. But the second you share it with someone, again, it just lessens the weight of it, right? The second you say to someone, I'm having a bit of a bad day, my anxiety's flaring, it just takes the pressure off. It takes that expectation, it takes that pressure off your shoulders, some of the weight off your chest, and it's not perhaps going to go away completely, but it just takes that pressure off. So yes, if you struggle with anxiety, tell someone. Even if you're telling a stranger on the street or a stranger on a train, as I'm going to get into a little bit later, yeah, tell someone and they will hold some of that weight for you. Yeah. So in terms of my history with anxiety, I think my first memory of having anxiety is actually traveling to school with my mum. And I was at a different school to my brother and sister, but during the school run, my mum would like drop my brother and sister off first, and then we'd continue on to my school, and then I'd get dropped off. And, traffic, rush hour, school run, sometimes we'd be a little bit late, and I have these distinct memories of being on the way to school, and it's looking like we're going to be late and I'm going to miss like the morning assembly or the morning register, and I'd get really stressed in the car. I'd be sat in that front seat and like my heart would go, I'd be sweating, and at that time I had no idea what it was, but I'd get really freaked out. And I think I have a vague memory of my mum sensing it, being like, it's all right, it's fine, we'll get you there, it's okay. But I'd be like, oh, we're so late. And I think it was the fear of walking in late and having everyone look at me. So yeah, I think that's my first memory of having some kind of anxiety, but it wasn't really labelled as anxiety until I got to my next school, and I went to a boarding school, and it was always around lunch, and we'd all have lunch together in the boarding house, but you'd be sat in your years and you'd have a teacher in the middle of the table. Very, very strange, but whatever. And I'd always get anxiety around that time, but I think that was kind of like an overstimulation. There would be a lot of noise around me, lots of conversations happening around me, and I would just find it overwhelming, and that would then kind of trigger some kind of anxiety. Again, I'd get like clammy, hot, tight chest, and I would just excuse myself and go. There was always this little window outside the dining hall. There was always this little window that I'd sit by, crack the window open a little bit, and I'd sit there for a bit. And occasionally my friends would come out and join me. But obviously the teachers didn't really like it because I think they were worried I was avoiding meal times and perhaps not eating, which wasn't the case. But obviously I can understand them doing that. And I don't know, I remember when my anxiety was getting worse at school, the matron of the boarding house, she really dismissed it. She was like, oh, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. Go over it. And if you have anxiety, you know that that's probably not the most helpful thing to hear, because you do wish you could just click your fingers and that weight on your chest would go. And this is as over the past week when Gerald was being really feisty, I was getting frustrated with it, and it was really getting me down, because I was like, I've got plans today. I've got really fun things. I'm going to be seeing a friend, and I really want to go. I don't want to have to cancel. I don't think I've ever really cancelled plans due to my anxiety, and I don't want to start now, I might have adjusted plans a little bit, but I've never had to fully cancel my day, and that nearly happened on Saturday. And yeah, so that's kind of where it started through school. And I know this from teaching teen yoga in the past, that there's a lot of teenagers, and I think it's increased even more so from the lockdowns, from COVID, from the school closures. There's a lot of young ones struggling with anxiety, and my reasoning for going into teen yoga was that I wanted to be the person that I didn't have when I was a teen. And whilst I don't teach teen yoga anymore, that still stands. So I suppose if there's a young person listening to this, again, I still want to be that person, that I didn't have, that understands. And I'm sure it's different now. People talk about anxiety a lot more so. It's a more spoken about topic, and therapy is more highly encouraged. It's less taboo. So I'm hoping, in a way, this episode is still me being that person, because letting go of my teen yoga class was not an easy decision, but it was a necessary decision. And yeah, but as I said, I hope this episode is a way of me still being that person for those young ones. And I think since school, obviously into university and stuff like that, I can't remember any key specific moments, but there were definitely flares here and there, and it would always be around assessment time or dissertation time, where there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of stress. You know what the triggers are. It's easy to figure out what the triggers are. And I am the type of person that does put a lot of pressure on myself as well. Yeah. But another time I really remember was actually on this family holiday, and there's a reason I'm going to reference this, but we were on this family holiday, and it was a really hot day. We were all out for lunch. We were by this marina, I remember, and I basically got overheated, got too hot, started hyperventilating at the table, and before I knew it, like I literally, my mum could sense that something was wrong. My mum just turned to me and she was like, "Are you okay?" And in that second, that's often all it takes, someone to ask whether you are okay, and then it just flares, right? My mum asked me whether I was okay, and then I was gone. Like, I was trying to mask it, but as soon as my mum asked whether I'm okay, the mask comes off, gone. Hyperventilating, blah, blah, blah. But there was a waiter who was walking by, clocked it, and in a matter of seconds, this waiter comes by and fully tips a whole jug of water over my head. In the middle of this restaurant, fully pours it all over my head. And in that split second, stopped. Hyperventilating, gone. Anxiety, gone. And I remember just being sat there like, oh, what just happened? And yeah, because I just got overheated, and I also remember I was wearing a particular top that day, and it stayed in my mind ever since because it was a material that just, again, felt really uncomfortable in the heat. And again, it was like an overstimulation. It was just, yeah, and I've never worn that material again. And I'm so precise over the material of clothing. And yeah, but the reason that worked is because it offered me a change of state. So when I am struggling with my anxiety and I feel myself getting warm, flustered, I go for that change of state. I seek out that change of state. That's why people say like fresh air or like a brisk walk, because that you feel that freshness hit into your lungs, right? And it's why people do, well, it's one of the reasons why people might go for ice baths and stuff like that, because it's a change of state. It's almost putting your body into a different kind of fight or flight, I guess. And it's allowing the body to then reprogram that fight or flight, reconfigure that fight or flight, knowing that you are able to breathe and move through that fight or flight. So more often than not, if I feel somewhat flighty, I will just have an ice cold shower. And it will like convey that same feeling that I got from that waiter in that restaurant on a family holiday at one time. That's how my anxiety has kind of manifested over the few years. Again, it started with I remember it starting about worry about being late for things and walking into a room and having everyone stare at me. Then it kind of manifested around meal times, overstimulated, getting hot. It's interesting to look back on it now because you do kind of forget the way in which it has manifested in the past week. And I think I figured out what the triggers were. As I mentioned before, I'm very like self-sufficient. You know, I look after myself, but then I do put a bit of pressure on myself. My days at the moment are scheduled, okay? Which is ironic because all the changes that I've made this year have been in order to give myself more freedom. So the fact that that's kind of gone the other way is interesting, but I have a belief that the hours, the effort that I'm putting in now, I'm going to reap the rewards of later. So the freedom will come later. I think right now, this schedule is keeping me disciplined and keeping me motivated in order to bring these things to light that I'm trying to manifest, that I'm trying to work towards these goals, these various things that I'm hoping for. But naturally, I put a lot of pressure on myself to get things done, and because my days are scheduled, I then get quite concerned. I'm like, oh, it's 4:00 and I've not done this yet, or oh, I'm about to leave for class in an hour and I've still not done this. So that's when I get a little bit stressed, like time management, blah blah blah. But I'm always kind of figuring it out. And I always will figure it out. And that's another reminder to everyone else. Anytime you are kind of working through a hiccup, a bump in the road, you will always figure it out. You always find your way through. There's always some path ahead. And I was talking to a friend who's really been dealt a difficult hand at the moment. And it feels like the world is against them. And I've said, like, plant 2 feet firmly into the ground, and whether you go forwards, backwards, left, right, up, down, doesn't matter. Small steps here and there. You can't see the path ahead, but you will find that path ahead. You will figure it out always, because really you have no other choice. You could let whatever is troubling you completely take you. And sometimes it does. Sometimes you do have to let everything kind of completely burn to the ground and then build yourself back up. But I think there's something to be said that you can either let it take you. You can either let everything shatter, fall completely to pieces, right? And again, sometimes that's needed to then rebuild. Or you trust you will figure it out. And it's not going to be a simple fix. You're not going to be putting a plaster on things. You're not going to be putting a rose-tinted glasses on things. But slowly and surely you will figure things out, because realistically, that is your only choice. So when I'm approaching anything, I don't know, whether it's figuring out something in business or something to do with my home, finances, health, whatever it is, I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out. Don't know how, don't know when, but you will figure it out, because it's either that or letting everything fall to pieces, letting everything burn to the ground, and I'm not willing to let that happen. So my only choice is to figure things out, right? And trusting that I will figure things out. Not necessarily having to like really fight and search for the answer, but trusting that the answer, even if I perhaps don't like it, or even if it's not one answer, maybe it's a series of little answers that I might need to action or reconfigure or put into place over time, you'll figure it out. And that's what I've been reminding myself of throughout this past week whilst Gerald has been visiting. And I think it started on Monday, and I think why it started was that I didn't adequately rest over the weekend. I did rest, my body really rested, but my mind didn't fully switch off. I was very much thinking about my content throughout the next week. I was scheduling content, I was filming content. So whilst my body was taking a real rest from teaching, my brain was still very much active. Therefore, my brain got somewhat overloaded. And I didn't schedule in enough time to, to catch up with friends or speak to family. Yeah, so it was very much me in my own head, me and my own thoughts. So my brain just kind of went into overdrive. So by the time I got to Monday and I was then thinking, okay, work, here we go, admin day, let's go. My brain was already like, fucking hell, I haven't recovered yet. You've not allowed me to rest. I'm still tired. So I think that's what happened on Monday. And then throughout the week, it's settled, but then there were some moments in there that really knocked me, and to the point where I was almost anticipating it. So it's like each morning I was waking up in a panic thinking, okay, what's it now? What's the thing going to be? I was already anticipating, I was already panicking about it, I was already braced for it, even though nothing necessarily was going to happen. I was just freaking out about it in advance, when really that doesn't help anything. If you're always worried something's going to happen, you're going to be completely burnt out by the time something does happen, because things do happen. Therefore, you're not going to have the energy, the reserves to then move your way through it. So yeah, nearly each morning I was waking up in a panic and that real surge of anxiety straight away. The second my eyes opened, bam, there it is. Gerald's there, sat on my chest. And again, still showed up, moved through it in the best way that I could. It got to Saturday, however, and this is the first time this has happened to me where my anxiety manifested in complete loss of appetite and nausea and upset tummy issues. Because, it's my nervous system. Your nervous system communicates through to you, through your digestive system, through your sleep, through your heart rate, through your breath rate, through body temperature. So it's no surprise that at some point it was communicating to me through my digestive system. And yeah, nausea, dizziness, no appetite, all of the above. That was when I was like, I might have to actually cancel some plans here. I was meant to be going into London to see a show with a friend that I've not seen in a long ass time, maybe at least like 9-10 months. And we planned to get pizza before the show. The thought of eating pizza, I was like, I can't do it. I cannot do it. But was taking it step by step. I rang my mum, told her what was going on. I was just really trying to be intuitive. Like, what do I feel is going to benefit me right now? And it took me a while to land on it. I was like, I actually feel like I just need to sit in the bath for a bit. So did exactly that. Messaged my friend. I was like, can we forego pizza and maybe just meet at the theatre? Because it just takes the pressure off me a little bit. So it's allowing me to not fully cancel my plans, but it takes the pressure off for me to be there at a specific time. It gives me more hours to just figure out where I'm at. Had a bath and then started to feel a bit better, but again, it was coming in waves. I still hadn't ate anything. I could not. Made myself some toast, could not. But I was also picking myself up out of it. I was having to really coach myself through and be like, come on, Lauren, you got this. You're fine. You're not battling a lion. Gerald's just visiting right now. So if Gerald wants to accompany you on this day out, fine. Gerald's going to accompany you on this day out. Okay. On the way to the train station, I bought myself this pack of ginger biscuits and some mints. And all I could do throughout the entirety of this show was just nibble on these ginger biscuits. And also my bag got searched on the way into the theatre, and he opened my bag to see all these ginger biscuits, and he's like, someone must like ginger biscuits. And I was like, yes, it's necessary, please don't take them away from me. Anyway, he was fine about it. Yeah, and it was quite funny, me with this stack of ginger biscuits in my lap whilst there's a show going on, and every time there was a quiet moment in the show, I had to make sure I wasn't crunching. So again, it was making it lighthearted because I knew I've got to have something, because if I don't eat, again, that's only going to make my anxiety worse. So I was like, I've got to have something. Anyway, saw the show, made it, happy days, so pleased for that. And then it got to the point of travelling back home. My friend was going in a different direction, so I was like, okay, lovely to see you, have a nice day. And I needed to get myself back home. I mean, in the middle of London, I need to get the hell out of here, get myself back home, get myself back to my safe space. And obviously I'm on my own now. That's when I'm starting to feel it. My mum knew where I was. My mum has my location always anyway. And I'd messaged her saying, the show's finished, make my way back home. Got myself onto the tube. The tube is hot as balls. So I'm like, this isn't great. Got myself out the tube and I was like, oh, it's a 30-minute walk. You know what? That's fine. I'll walk it. Lauren, you have not ate anything. And this elephant is heavy as fuck. This elephant on my chest has been, I don't know, lifting some weights recently. And yeah, it's making this walk a little bit trickier. So I probably made it at like 5-10 minutes into this walk and I was like, no, this isn't a good idea. Got another tube, was ultimately able to get to St. Pancras. Got myself onto this train, sat down, clock eyes with this guy in front of me. He shares a smile, I smile back, but obviously I'm distressed. It's giving hot mess. The train leaves and I'm like doing breath work, I'm doing tapping, I'm counting my breaths, I'm staring at a particular point, focusing in on that one point, allowing the rest of the world to kind of blur away a little bit. But I'm shifting in my seat, I'm fidgety, I'm hot, I'm sweaty. It's not looking good. It's not giving the demure, sophisticated girly that I would prefer to portray. It's giving straight up hot mess, and fine. And this guy in front of me, we clock eyes quite a bit every so often. Also, somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm like, this guy's actually quite good looking, which kind of makes this worse because he's a nice looking gentleman and I'm giving hot mess. He originally has AirPods in, he's obviously listening to something, but he takes his AirPods out, puts them away, and he just sits there for a long time. Meanwhile, I'm dying a very slow and painful death in front of him. Anyway, at some point, I clock eyes with him again, and he says to me, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, just a girl with anxiety. And I think I even gave him the peace sign because I'm so freaking awkward, mortified. But let me tell you, this guy, such a gentleman. Straight away, he's like, "Oh, you're going to be so fine. You've got this. I believe in you." And he's just giving me this little pep talk. And I'm like, honey, you have no idea who I am, what's going on. But it was making me chuckle, the things that he said. I thought, right, let's just have a conversation. So I strike up a conversation with him, find out a bit more about him. But honestly, the sweetest guy, he was so genuine. And like, at this point, I'm like, can you just marry me? Can you just marry me? I'm a damsel in distress, help me. Anyway, I figured out he's getting off the train soon. And I'm like, if this guy doesn't ask for my number, this is a real shit day. But he pulls out his phone. I'm like, go on, do it. And he asked my Instagram, same thing nowadays. To be honest, that interaction saved me. That carried me through the rest of the way, and the journey back home, made it home into my safe space, was able to then eat some soup, Heinz tomato soup, to save the day. That is my go-to when things are just fucking awful. And it's just like some sort of home comfort thing. Anyway, had that. And then laid on the floor with my legs on the sofa, as you do. And my mum FaceTimed me again. And at some point that evening, this guy sends me a message on Instagram, and let me tell you, I'm in love. I sent a screenshot of this message to my mother, and I was like, fear not, mother. No need to worry about a thing nowadays. She's all right. She's found her husband. All is well with the world. And yeah, what a lovely human. What a lovely interaction. And it just goes to show that it takes nothing. You see someone in distress. I mean, I know I would. If I saw someone in distress, I've done it before. Again, at the train station, there was a girl crying. You know, she'd literally just broken up with her boyfriend. And I was like, honey, your life is about to get so much better. It's fine. It's all okay. And obviously reached out to her. So I've seen it. I've not only experienced it, I've also offered that out to someone before. So if you see someone in distress or going through something and you have the space, the opportunity to just help them out a little bit, just say, you know, you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. Even if it doesn't feel like at the moment, I promise you wholeheartedly that person is going to be so grateful of that. And also, if you are the person that's out and about and you're having a difficult moment, and there's a stranger nearby that looks kind, obviously don't go speaking to anyone, but don't be afraid to maybe approach someone and say, like, look, can you just watch out for me for a second? Because I've got anxiety and I'm feeling really wobbly. Can you just grab me for a second? And chances are they'll be like, oh, honey, absolutely. You know, there's nice people out there. There's kindness everywhere. Sometimes you just have to search for it a little bit harder, I guess. But it is out there. Nice people are out there. And this guy that I met yesterday, he's not even from the UK. He's come from abroad. English isn't even his first language. And yet he still took the time to check in on me. And again, I just think that's beautiful, and that's probably why I've fallen in love even more. So the Gerald status as it is now is that it's still coming and going in waves. I'm recording this on a Monday, and again, woke up this morning less panicky, but you know, it's easy for that wave to kind of exaggerate itself, I guess. And I'm thinking about my day, and I'm like, okay, I've got this to do, that to do, I need to take this off my list. I've got this appointment here, and I thought, you know what? I've got this appointment to get my nails done. Lovely. Not many people can do that on a Monday, right? Not many people have that freedom, that luxury to go get their nails done on a Monday. So let's seize this opportunity. You're heading into town. It is a beautiful day. And I thought, I can take half an hour after my appointment to go for a walk by the river and get myself a strawberry ice matcha. Again, that is a privilege that I have. Why don't I seize that opportunity? The things that I need to get done today will get done. And in fact, I got back home, sat at my desk for an hour, smashed out the majority of things that I need to do. And then I was like, right, let's go record a podcast. Let's do our hair a little bit. Let's get comfortable on the sofa. Let's chat about it, shall we? And again, it's just a sign that things work themselves out, even if it doesn't always seem like it. They will work themselves out. And these waves of anxiety, these little fleeting visits from Gerald, they are temporary. Nothing is permanent. Literally nothing is permanent in this world. Everything is temporary. Thoughts come and go from one thing to the next. Emotions ebb and flow from one thing to the next. Sensations move throughout the body from one place to the next. Everything is changing. Everything is evolving. And yes, sometimes that in itself can feel unnerving, can feel a little bit unsettling. Sometimes we just want to feel nice and grounded, right? But if we can get comfortable, or if we can get used to this idea that yes, everything is in motion, whatever it is we're experiencing right now, even if it's really sticky, if you feel like you're right in the shit, it's temporary. You will figure your way through. No matter how clear or unclear it might seem, you will always figure it out because you have no other choice. Even if you do decide to let things burn to the ground and build yourself up again, there's a choice you can make. So again, own that choice, you know? So anyway, whilst I didn't want to talk about anxiety today, I hope it's been a somewhat light-hearted chat about anxiety. Again, emphasising the point that we all have moments. And yours might be called Gerald, you might call it something else. But we all have these moments, and again, this too shall pass. You have the power to move through it. You've done it before. You can do it again. Don't be afraid to seek out help, whether that's talking to friends, family, therapists, because a problem shared is a problem halved. And yeah, in the same way, this nice guy on the train gave me that little pep talk. This is your little pep talk. You've got this. I believe in you. I believe in us all. We've got this. All right, honeys, I'll leave this one there. Funnily enough, if you haven't seen it already, I released my first bonus episode of the Butterfly Effect podcast last week, and it was all about a breath work for anxiety. So if Gerald's paying you a visit right now, head over to Patreon, where that bonus episode is waiting for you. And yeah, take your time. This too shall pass. We've got this. Have a joyous Wellness Wednesday, honeys. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Mwah. Alright, stunners, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Butterfly Effect podcast. I hope it has left you feeling suitably inspired. And as always, please don't forget to rate and review, like and subscribe, all those lovely things, as not only does this help the podcast grow, but it also helps us to reach more beautiful souls who need to hear these conversations. And of course, come hang out with me over on Instagram and TikTok at LaurenAmyYD, and follow the pod at butterflyeffect.pod. You can also dive deeper into yoga, meditations, poetry, and so much more with me over on Patreon. Until next time, keep living a soft life loudly, because you know you deserve it, and I'll see you in the next episode. Mwah!